My machine's getting old on me. I must be overusing it. Hey guys, this is Rick. If you guys that don't know me, I got some strange shadows. If you guys that don't know me, I'm this guy who's been reading the Bible and finding out that all the messages that seem to keep coming out of the Bible and out of scriptures, wherever I find them that pertain to God or God of any kind, or myths, they seem to be, these ideas of allegories and parables are ways of conveying other messages through the insides. It's like, during war times, people could put a code in by using people's names and addresses and different things, and then the person who knew what to look for could pull this message out of nowhere, where you couldn't see it before, but there was something in there. And that's how our Bibles are constructed, and that's how our Bible tells us how to read it. It says that there is if you read this or minister this by, I'm trying to fix something here and I'm not having a good time with it, that if you minister by the word, by the letter, which is something that you see, then you're going to have a pretty tough go at it. It says that people, if you're going to take this by the letter, then it's going to kill. It's going to be kind of, not going to be so happy. And of course, that's how we read our Bibles. It's called face value. You're looking right at it, and that's how you take it. But the Bible says that we're supposed to be ministering this by the Spirit. And of course, that's something that you can't see, and the average reader can't see it either. And I've been reading our Bible for years and years and years. Just the key phrases. You know how they say you want to nitpick here and take this one, take that one, take this one, put it together, and that's my Bible. It's kind of like that. But still, it's just like reading something but not really knowing what it means, because a lot of these things are pretty tough, very tough indeed. Like, for instance, I always throw this out to someone who says they're a born-again Christian. I said, are you really born again? Does that mean, do you hate your mother and your father and your brothers and sisters, and you hate yourself? Because it said this, Jesus says that if a man comes to him and he hasn't done these things, then he can't follow him. Oh, here, I know you're not going to answer that one so fast. I said, well, how about the one where he says that you have to come as a child? And he says, verily I say to you that if you do not come to me as a child, you cannot inherit the kingdoms of heaven, or cannot come into it. So those are two riddles, so to speak, because this guy spoke in parables, which means that he didn't tell the truth. He told it in a story, so you have to look for it. Our Bible tells us this very well, but we are not taught to do that. We are taught, take it as a word, and don't do anything more than that. You're going to be in trouble. So you'll find that this is you've been persuaded to follow an outside point of view. This is what mankind takes of the readings of our Bible. And of course, we have many different religions on earth, but these three of the Abraham religions are all reading right off the top, which kills, So what I'm trying to do is to muster up enough evidence, and before, the crowd of 12, show you my evidence that I have for this phenomenon. And of course, I'm calling it the Great Distraction, or the deception that they talk about, the Great Deception. This is the greatest deception of them all, where you find yourself amidst the religion and religious people trying to do good on earth, and find that, they just may have parked their little spiritual butts in the wrong lane. That being that there are two lanes that you can take. There's three if you want to say that you don't want to believe in any of it, But because of the nature of religion, it caused them this. So the believer in the top of the Bible and the non-believer in the top of the Bible are in the same place, hell. But if you can find what's on the inside of that, there's one way you go in, and that's what I teach. And what I have learned to teach from other people, I just have a simpler way of going about it. That if you learn this, it will break your ties to this outside world. It'll cut that tie to what we call the demon or the animal side to us. And it doesn't necessarily get rid of the animal side of us, but that it leashes it and subdues the earth. That's what we're supposed to do, is subdue the earth. And earth, symbolically, is our mind. So if there's a chance that we can learn to have peace of mind, which is the only reason why I'm doing this and going through all this trouble, is teaching people how to have peace of mind, because that's the first step in having peace on earth. And that's what's being revealed through our Bible. So I'm not an atheist in any way, but I don't believe that Jesus ever lived, and I don't believe that anybody in that Bible actually ever lived either, unless they were being used as a reference. And that means places on earth that resemble this, rivers that resemble this, churches that resemble this. They are all facsimiles. This has been in the making for 2,000 years. All right, it's the biggest McDonald's franchise on earth, in the cosmos. And it's also perhaps because of the dogma related to the different religions, how they each are in competition with themselves and the earth and the people of the earth, that it's probably going to be our demise. You know, they'll call it Armageddon, they'll call it God coming in to cleanse us, but it's not. It's us falling prey to ourselves. And that's also mentioned throughout the stories. And so, well, one of the things we have found out most recently is that if you could learn just simply by hearing, using your ear, and seeing by what I'm reading, and by understanding with your heart, that those three combinations, that if you can catch on to that, that's one of the first leaps out of this kingdom. And it starts the mind thinking, and you can no longer see or hear things the way you used to do it, because you're starting to partner up with a higher conscious. And there's still work to be done. We're still young, and I'm still learning stuff as I go. But this idea of, it's a Buddhist idea that you would go inside and clean out what's inside of you. We can do very well at getting on the outside and cleaning what we can, but we're not really good at going inside and taking out those things that have hurt us the most, or things that have been taught us, things that we have shown us. Even religion itself is this giant barricade to this light, believe it or not. Although I would say that my 30 or 40 years invested in religion has caused me to want this knowledge, that it was not one bit of it wasted, that everyone in their own time will be able to see this light, but they have to seek it. You know, you don't run into God, you don't get thrown out of a window and, oh, I had an epiphany. Maybe so, if it was a near-death type of experience. But even then, there is a way to do something. And there's only one way to do this. And they tell us this. So today's lesson I want to get into with... Oh, where am I doing at? Today's lesson that I want to get into... Oh, shit, I'm losing all my good stuff. I can't lose any of this. What else is going on? Alright. Well, I promised you guys I would do David and Goliath, you know, and I just finished with it. I probably should spend more time on it, but I've heard this thing and I've kind of dissected it before, but not so much. I was given it as a synopsis before, that it's just when you're working with, when you have something larger than you that you have to go up against. But when you find out that this is all one person, And when you're introduced to Goliath, Goliath is told how big he is. So, everything is always gigantic or gargantuan, or all comes from this word Goliath. But he winds up being 6 cubits and a span. So we find out that a cubit is 1.5 feet, and we find out that a span is 9 inches. So this is 9 and 9. All right. So what it shows is that it's a battle of consciousness. The right side against the left side. All of our stories have been this way. All right. This is just a little further up in the stories than we did with these other ones, but it's about this consciousness winning over. The lower side is the red side that is stronger than the spiritual side. But when you ever give up that beast side, you just give it one touch of the higher side, one touch, and it's gone. It's gone. It'll have to rebuild itself up in you again. That means you'll have to do a lot of backsliding for that monster to come back alive. All right. So when we toss our nets to the right side of the boat to catch fish, the 153 fish are brought up. We have 153. That's 9 with a right hand reference. The number 666 is the mark of the beast. Put that all together, you get 18. Put that together, you get a 9. That's the lower side. 144,000 are saved, just a couple of inches down from that 666 mark of the beast. 144,000. What number is that? We got another 9. So you know that there is a duality on God's creation, which is left and the right side, good and bad. So this is us. We're number 2. Remember, that's how it works. 1 is God, 2 is His creation, and 3 is all of us together. So we get some of that going on.